Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome you to my lecture today. Of course, initially we were to meet online today, but I think after it came up, I changed my mind. So we're meeting in person today, but on Wednesday, it's actually going to be on Zoom. Okay? We're not going to be here on Wednesday. Okay, so and I also want to confirm if you've all seen the research proposal assignment. Okay. In case you have any issue with that, please I will advise you reach out. Uh I think I also want to make this as an announcement. If you have not actually um answered the survey question and you were graded, okay, that is in error. I will advise that I think I open the survey question. I extended the deadline for those who just joined the class. So make sure you actually uh uh you know exploit the opportunity. Okay, so today I think this week is going to be committed to statistical consulting. We started preparation week and I walk you through some stuff. I remember I talked about um, research design and of course the type of studies that we could have. And of course I walk you through um, how the situation where we can consider experimental study and observational studies and so on like that. I think I also remember how uh, we can actually put necessary machinery in place to conclude on causation with observational studies as well. And I think on Friday, I walk you through how to investigate association between cause and effect. Remember, I walk you through how which you can actually figure out the odds ratio, the relative risk, and so on like that. But today we are starting statistical consulting. And what do we actually mean by statistical consulting? Uh, you know, I realize that we find ourselves uh, in a world where we may not succeed in isolation. I'm going to say that again. I realize that we are in a world where we need one another. We're in a world where you as a statistician can be consulted, by a client. If a client can handle things alone, is not going to reach out in the first place. So the client is reaching out, or probably they are at a crossroad and they believe, uh, you know, you are on ground to solve their problem statistically, and that's why they're going to actually approach you. So by statistical consulting, I actually mean a professional practice, where um, you as a statistician actually help the client out on number one, the type of studies, to embark on, the how they collect the data, how to choose appropriate statistical methodology, and at the same time how to conduct analysis, and at the end of the day you also want to help with how to interpret findings. Of course, with that, you actually want to communicate statistical idea in a way that they're actually going to understand, and that will be implemented into their own policy decision making. So that is what we mean by statistical consulting. So they're going to be consulting. So which means what we're going to be doing from now is actually to guide you on how to behave, during the consulting process. Okay. So that is all what we're going to do. Now, I'm actually saying statistical consulting, it comes at the point, let me do this, interception of statistics, the subject matter, and the communication. Give me 1 second. I think So, like I said, you know, this is at the point of interception, okay? Intersection of statistics, okay? Subjects, subject matter, no, matter knowledge, and communication. Okay. Now, I think I mentioned subject matter knowledge. I mentioned statistics and communication. Okay. Communication is actually or the key. Okay. The way I expect you to put into practice the knowledge of statistics you've acquired, and not only that. We also expect you to have a little bit of understanding of what they are working on in terms of you trying to review the background, getting the information about the subject matter, and so that which is I call the subject matter knowledge, and not only that, communicate. Okay, we have seen situation whereby uh, maybe a particular statistician is understands situation, but what is letting that statistician down is inability to communicate. Okay, it's just like you've done something nice, you've done something great, you've done something fantastic, but we need you to do the talk. Okay, that's exactly what we mean. Okay, so in the agenda, I think I've defined statistical consulting, and of course, you know, we have an effective consulting process that I've already highlighted. I'm actually going to be walking you through today that we call power. Okay, P stands for something, O stands for something, and so on like that. Then we actually are going to talk about how you gather information, because there are some data, I mean, there are some research that they are in a very, very early stage. Let me tell you this. When you are being consulted, okay, you could get consulted when the researchers have already started something. You could get consulted when they have not even started anything at all. So you have to get prepared. At times, maybe where you want to get along is when uh, maybe some of them have done a lot of work and they only need you to suggest to them the appropriate statistical method at work. Okay, so it depends. Okay, then how do we set expectations? Because whatever you want to embark on, somebody who consulted you has expectation, and you also have expectations. So you have to discuss, that amicably, and you have to be on the same page to make sure what you want to achieve is actually the same goal. So you need to set expectations ahead of time. And I'm also going to do something today. I'm going to let you to watch a video, because one of the assignment that we're going to give you, um, we're actually going to ask you to mimic, to practice or, you know, what you watch in the video, where somebody is in this class. Maybe we're going to pair you. We're going to have somebody to act as a statistician, and we're going to have another person to act as a client. Okay, you're just dramatizing, just dramatizing because part of consulting for exercise, you need to dramatize. You get what I mean? So somebody is going to act as a client, and it's just going to bring up a particular problem, and somebody is going to act as a statistician and be able to attend to the person. So that kind of assignment is coming up. Okay, I defined a statistical consulting the other time that involved at least or two individuals. At times it could be it could be two individuals, it could even be two group of individuals, or it could be one individual against a group of a client. It could be a group of statistician with one client, but what I just know is that, two entities are meeting. Okay, now there are two major parties involved. The first is the client that has the problem, and the second is the consultant. And here, our consultant is the statistician. Okay, now let me tell you this. I've reached out to some independent researchers. I'm still waiting for them to give us a date that they're going to come around. Um, we're going to have a real life, a client that will come to class that actually seeking, uh, your statistical input, about how they're going to navigate their project. So the client here is someone seeking the expertise of bringing the problem. We're always going to find ourselves in a world every day where there's going to be a new problem, problem accumulating. But as statistician or consultant, we are ready. Okay? So the consultant is that expert now that's actually going to do the job of providing a solution. Okay? We don't just provide solution, we want a solution that will stand a test of time. Does that make sense? We don't want to mislead. Okay. Now, this is the way I'm looking at the flow chart. Okay. A client actually come with a problem, okay, approaching you, okay, and he or she has already explained, what they want to achieve. You've listened, and for you to be able to provide a solution, you as a statistician, you need to, for us, have a way to translate that that problem into statistical problem. Because if you're not able to translate problem into statistical problem, you may not be able to address that statistically because you only have the knowledge, you have the uh you have the technicality, you have that statistical or technicality, and that's why you need to force or convert that into statistical problem. If a mathematician is consulted, I want to believe mathematician will convert the problem into maybe form of equations and so on like that, before he can now, start applying his methodology. We also do it. We're going to do that here. So that's what we translate into statistical problem. But let me tell you this very stage is very crucial. If you are not, there are some translation that may be wrong. I'm going to say that again. There are some translation that may be wrong. I watched a movie, and that very movie is very, very interesting. Okay, I have two different people. They speak in different language, and they need somebody that understand both language. And this guy here. Okay, a second. I'm gonna do this. Okay, this guy claimed to have a knowledge of understanding of the two languages. And this guy says something that is friendly, okay? But when this guy is translating uh that, so this guy is what he translated is not good. That what he translated make this person mad, so mad that they begin to fight. We don't want that kind of situation. Let me tell you this. We have a lot of statistical models in our arsenal, okay? And one model does not fix all problems. And that's why we need to be guided, need to be able to identify. It's only when you translate the real life problem into the right statistical problem. Because when your translation is problematic, I think garbage in and garbage out also going to set in. So that's why you have to make sure. So when you now translate into statistical problem and everything is fantastic, then you actually you're going to generate statistical solution. Of course, a part of what you've learned before coming to this class, you are already equipped with, you are fully equipped with statistical idea. So now the knowledge you acquire, you actually translate statistical problem into statistical solution. Now, when you have it in a statistical solution, okay, you will now translate that into the client solution. But let me tell you this, you have to do a lot of job making sure the client understand the solution, because you actually going to have the solution in statistical form. Okay, now, you have to make sure the way you communicate the solution to the client, you avoid the use of statistical ambiguity, okay, that we're still going to talk about. Okay, because it is when you are able to do the conversion to the client solution, okay, that is what the clients will understand. Okay, now let's keep moving. Now, statisticians in the research cycle. But let me tell you this, before I go into this, we already know what we do. Like I said, number one, the core objective when that you should have in mind in case you are being consulted is number one, how you can translate a real world solution or questions into statistical problem. Because what you are trying to do is because you want to use statistical idea, okay, you need to first know how to do that. And after you've done that, okay, of course, in this class, we've walked you through how to design a valid studies. You need to be able to know what kind of study is going to work? Or, after ethical consideration, after feasibility study, and so on like that. After you look into consideration what is practical and impractical, okay, you can actually recommend either observational studies or experimental studies. And of course, we will advise you to let the client understand that if you are going for experimental studies, of course, you know that it's costly, even though it's the one that can give us, very strong statistical power. And of course, don't also forget that, okay, uh, when you consider the criteria given by Sir Bradford, Hill, that we call the E criteria for causality, there's possibility. If your goal is a causal goal, we have a way, we can actually conclude causation from observational study as well. And of course, you the next is, how do we analyze the data? Okay, how you need to be able to see how you can actually look into statistical arsenal and bring out the appropriate statistical methodology that work. And after that, how do you interpret results, into the or using a layman language, using a language everybody we understand, not the language only statistician we understand, the language everybody we understand. Okay, now let's now go into this. I think I've mentioned a lot here. Okay, when planning and designing a study, I told you the other time, talk about experimental design or research design. Okay, that's actually involve the overall plans that you put in place to ensure that reliable data are collected to facilitate what I call correct analysis and thereby leading to a very valid decision at the end of the day. So that is what it means by that. So you need to determine the best way to collect data. Let me tell you this. Highly sophisticated model cannot fix a problem of a poor data collection. I'm going to say that again. Highly statistical model, okay, highly sophisticated statistical model cannot fix a problem that is due to poor data collection. Okay, irrespective of the stage, the clients maybe when you are being consulted. If anybody consults me, maybe they've already collected their data and they only want me to recommend appropriate statistical method that is going to work because data are just figures. I'm going to tell them, I think I'm also interested in how you collect this data. Does that make sense? I'm interested in how data are collected. I'm interested in whether the principle of randomization, I'm interested whether they use, I'm interested in the sampling techniques used. There are different sampling techniques that may be appropriate for a given situation. I remember we have what we call a simple sample, simple random sampling technique, where you use that when population is homogeneous, where every element in the population they are more or less the same. I can choose a simple random sample in that regard. But what if in a situation where population is heterogeneous, choosing simple random sampling is not going to make sense. You have to go for stratified random sampling. We have a systematic random sampling. We have a cluster, quota, and so on like that. And so I need to be able to know the way the data is collected. Okay. Now, another thing is before collecting data in the first place, how do they know the sample size? How do they come into consideration? How do they know if they are if maybe in a research medical research a physician say, okay, I think I want to use 50 individuals here or 50 participants, how do we arrive at 50? Why not 100? Why not less than 50? Okay, and that is where power of a test is actually very, very crucial. I know before now in the lower course, lower level statistics, I know you've come across the power of a test. You've come across what we call the type 1 error, type 2 error. We put a lot of things into consideration before we determine sample size. I think there's a topic of sample size determination. Okay, we don't just choose sample size. Okay, so then after that, we also work out a plan for randomization and so on like that. I remember here in this class, I walk you through the principle of experimental design that involve randomization or the blocking, the blinding, replication, and so on like that. All of that have to be put into consideration. Okay, now you're gonna watch this. If I were you, okay, I wanted to watch this YouTube video, okay, and there are some questions that come after that, after data collection. So, but I'm still coming back to that. So, when you are done with your data, I mean, when you have decided on the best way to collect data, you know the sample size, and you understand the sampling techniques and so on like that. Let's say you have your data now. Okay, the next thing is after data collection, what happen? After data collection, because when we collect data set, the information that we need is not readily available. The information that we need is hidden in the data set. And what we need to do to have access to the meaningful information in the data set, then that is when appropriate statistical models are needed. Okay? So we perform data analysis. We don't just perform data analysis with any model. We have to put into consideration the data structure. We got to make sure that the state of model, the state of statistical model, and the state of data agree. Situation where the state of the model and the state of data don't agree, then you are not going to get a meaningful information from the data set. They have to agree. Okay, now, and after the clean has complete, after all of that, you can review, you interpret, you make suggestion for the next step. I'm going to do something now. Give me 1 second. Let me see. Um, scanning. Just want to try if this is going to talk. Okay. Wait, do you all hearing that? Or do you want me to start from the beginning? Are you good? Okay. Now keep listening. So say this. Let me see if there's anybody online. Those of you online, do you also listening to that? I need somebody among those who are attending online to also confirm if you get that information from the video. Those of you online, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much for confirming that. Now, I just play a video. Did you listen to that? Can somebody confirm among those who are attending lectures online if you have listened to this video?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for confirming that. I'm going to say something here. We don't conduct research in a hurry. Otherwise, you're going to get bad results. I can see the clients are actually so curious to get certain confirmation. We need to take our time, okay? So the way is actually, putting those questions. You want to confirm, you want to test difference between maybe two drugs or two maybe drug A and drug B, and you are emphasizing on using three individuals, you know, and that is why some a philosopher said, and I quote, questions and not answers create knowledge. I'm going to say that again. Questions and not answers create knowledge, which means the more questions you ask, the more you are able to get information. So you need to continue to ask more questions. I think the consultants refuse to be overwhelmed. In any situation, don't be overwhelmed. Just stand for what you believe in. This is what happened. Okay. You have said that. Okay. Now we're going to continue listening to this. My Tomorrow, why do you wait until now to do it? Okay. So, one I can, I can actually confirm that here is never going to do a good research, because it's actually going to rush the process through. Because the grant is due tomorrow. What have you been doing? And you see the way the consultant listing, the consultant allow the client to say any kind of stuff, but when it's done talking, look at the kind of response coming. Okay, let's keep on listening. This. There's something that I believe that I teach my children and people around me. Two wrongs can never make a right. I know that for sure. Under uh under condition of asymmetry, okay? Let us try and watch the way we react. Does that make sense? So you're not going to tell, even though the client is saying all sort of things that make you mad, you have to display uh, highest level of professionalism. Does that make sense? It takes two to tango. That's what I believe. Okay, when somebody is mad, then I'll take a cool. And at the end of the day, you just realize. I remember when I came into this country and my children faced that, I faced that as well. And what I told, some we have in every country there are good people. And in every country they are bad as well. But I'm not going to say people are bad. But I'm just going to say maybe they do not have understanding at that particular point in time. But it's going to, when you get to a point that we understand. I've seen people, before they're going to call me all sort of these, but at the end of the day, we became friends. We became friends, but we can never make it right. Okay, let me quickly do this. Let me go back to. Oh, give me 1 second. Uh, let me see the. Okay. Let me now share the. Okay, I think we're back to business right now. Now, I will advise you can take your time and watch the video again. So this is the link, okay, to the video. But you know what? Uh, this material we're still gonna talk about, or I'm still gonna work you on this material on Wednesday, and I've also put some other supplementary materials on Canvas for the week. But you know what? How do we actually conduct? How can we conduct an effective statistical consulting? And of course, we've been able to summarize the process using power. P actually start for prepare, O stand for open, okay, W stand for walk, okay, E stand for end, and R stand for reflects, okay? That's what we call power, okay? Uh, if we're able to go through this process in your consulting, then you're actually going to be fine. Everything is going to be fine. At the end of the day, the both party will be happy, okay? Let's start with prepare. Okay, let's start with the prepare. If you take a look, I said review the materials from the clients or tidy up the room, prepare a flexible meeting plan. I want to believe before you are consulted. Maybe you get an email from someone informing you ahead of time that is coming to visit you. And I know maybe probably before meeting, it actually send you his material, his or her material you want to review before you meet. Okay. And that's why I say review the materials from the client. Okay. Tidy up the room and prepare a flexible meeting plan. Because I actually want to believe you have something that you've already looked into. Okay. And that may determine how long or maybe how long you're going to meet or even the numbers of meetings and so on like that. Okay. I'm still in the prepare again. Okay. Now let me say this. Before you actually uh seeing the data at all, okay, what you've been able to do is you have a problem that you want to translate into statistical problem. Okay, ahead of time, you have a problem, whether ahead of time or during the visit, because there's possibility. A client may not send anything ahead of time. Maybe you're only going to see that when you meet. Okay, whichever way. Okay, you will need to listen. It's always good to listen. Okay, and when you do that, from the information, okay, you'll be able to see what are the variables under investigation. Okay, what are the variables or the client want to focus on? Do we have outcome variable? Okay, is there no outcome variable? Because you maybe depending on the data structure, you may want to use a supervised learning or unsupervised learning or whatever. So you need to be able to understand all of that. Then from there you can determine the design. Okay, the plan. Okay, how the study is going to work, including how data will be collected. Okay, is it the data is actually going to get within a stipulated time? Because there are some research that they are expected to finish within a particular period of time so that they don't run out of budget. Okay, you have to know this that so at that very PPA is where you're going to determine what sample size if they have not taken sample size. Okay, how you plan randomization and so on like that. Then at that very stage, you actually will be able to know what are the limitations or what are the assumptions of stuff like that. Okay. Now the next is open. What do I mean here? Okay. This is you having a conversation. That's what I call time conversation. Wanted conversation. But you know what? Even if your conversation is not wanted, just know how you're gonna handle that. Okay. Now, example, look at this question. Does it still work for you to meet for 1 hour? If we're being productive, for how long after 1 hour you could stay? Okay. Maybe after the arrival of the clients, okay. Maybe before the arrival, he said the meeting is going to be for 1 hour. So you need to confirm that. Okay. And you also need to be able to know if you can still go more than 1 hour. Okay, so that is where the open come in. So in open, you ask questions. You there's something that we call clarifying question. If you don't get what the person said correctly, you can ask the client to repeat, to come again, to clarify things. Okay, so now here, then you now begin to set a realistic expectation about what the data can do and what the data cannot do. So you discuss a lot of things. So this is open discussion. I used to tell people, if thing goes wrong, let's sit down and discuss instead of us to resolve into a fight. No, 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 no. Let's sit down. We're going to talk. Okay? Then we'll see a common ground. Now, the next is the work. But this very work is where you actually will need your statistical knowledge to put, we needed to put that in place. They say, okay, you have your data now, you have everything now. Is there any missing data? Do we need let's first clean up our data? Okay, let's make sure this data is in a good statistical standing. Okay, before we can analyze. Let's also see what appropriate statistical model is going to work, what machine learning algorithm is going to work. If I actually using a particular statistical model, okay, if the goal is explanation, of course, we're going to specify model, we're going to have assumptions. What are the assumptions that need to be verified and made before we can say the module that I've chosen is going to do a great job? We do all of that under work. Okay? And let me tell you this. There's something that I wrote down. Good work is principled, not just computational. I'm going to say that again. Good work is principled, not just computational. Okay, I just wanted to get that. And after that, summarize the meeting. Okay, summarize the meeting and outline the next steps. There's always going to be next step. There's possibility that you may want to meet more than one time, okay, with a client, okay. Now you summarize the meeting, and in the summarization of the meeting, okay, you actually going to say a lot of stuff. And after that, then you reflect. It's always good to reflect. Let me tell you this, whenever I teach a class, before posting my lecture video, I listen to my lecture video, okay. I always want to see whether the video is fantastic. I don't want to mislead the world. I don't want to mislead my student. Okay, when you are reflecting, determine what went well and what didn't go well. Okay, and reflect on what you would do differently in the future. We are always looking for an opportunity to improve. No matter what we do, I don't believe in a stochastic environment we can do something perfectly. There's always going to be a room for improvement. We're able to acknowledge that fact in statistics because of the fact that Moodle does not give exact characterization of reality. There's always going to be a gap between Moodle and reality. There's always going to be something to improve upon. And no matter how we improve, the gap is still going to be there. Even though the improvement could lead to a decrease in the gap, but you cannot eliminate the gap. And that is what we call the error. There's always going to be something to improve upon. Now, this is where, you know, the W walk is where, like I said, there's a law here, where you actually learn the goal of the research, you perform the research, and after you have an analysis, after you get a result using the best statistical or machine learning algorithm, you also need to explain, okay, in a language the client will understand, and avoid the use of statistical ambiguity, like using when you say p-value, the client may not understand the meaning of p-value. You need to explain, okay? And also explain the jargon example, cook distance. The client may not know the meaning of cook distance. He's going to say, oh, do you want me to go and cook? Or what do you want me to? I don't understand. Okay, so stuff like that. If you don't know the answer to a question, tell the client that you will look into it. Now, let me tell you this. One of the greatest sin in the whole world to me is when one deceive oneself. When you may pretend to deceive another person, in a way you are deceiving yourself. Because when you deceive yourself, you're going to live with that forever. It is not compulsory that I should know something now. If a client approach me and I believe I do not have a sufficient answer, instead of me to give out a wrong information, I'm gonna say to the client, I will look into that. Okay? So don't mislead in a way. And that's what I said. Do not give the client an incorrect answer or fake your understanding. If you don't understand, disclose that you don't understand. Say it. Okay? Now, there's a lot of things here. Gathering information, ask questions, and so on like that. But there's something I also wanted to let me quickly go to. Now, I think I gave some scenarios there that you can actually read. Okay. And I also wanted to watch this. I think I put, let me see. Did I provide a clear the link to this video? Okay, yeah, I also wanted to watch this. Okay. Watch this. Okay. Somebody here is a consultant, the other one is a client. Okay, they have an argument. Okay, now when you watch that, I think we're going to tell me what you watch. I think we're going to continue from there on Wednesday. But let me say this: on Wednesday, we're not meeting in person. We're meeting on Zoom. All what you need to do is to log on to the Zoom during the class time. Is there any question before I go today? Is there any question? Make sure you stay safe and have a beautiful day. Bye for now, everyone. Yep, bye for now. This is Sophia Online. Bye for now.